Hi witches, welcome to the channel, thank you for watching. Today I am reviewing The Children of Green Knowe. This is a magical children's book. I know I'm an adult, but I read it on recommendation from my friend and I absolutely loved it. So if you'd like to hear more about this book, I'm not going to put any spoilers in. I'm going to just describe what kind of book it is, the sort of people that might enjoy this, and just give you a little bit of background, but without sort of causing any spoilers. If you'd like to know more about this, then stay tuned. So welcome back everybody, thank you for watching, thank you for being here. I'm Wren, I'm known as the Cemetery Witch, and today, as I said in the intro, I'm going to review The Children of Green Knowe by Lucy M. Boston. So I was introduced to this book by my best friend. This was her favourite book growing up, and she was good enough to take me to the author's house back in December near Christmas. Her daughter-in-law lives there at the moment and does tours of the house, so you can really get a feel for the building and the garden where Lucy M. Boston wrote this book. So it was absolutely fabulous, and while I was there I bought this book and some others by Lucy M. Boston, and I read this one over Christmas and it was so charming and enjoyable. So I'm just going to go through the book, just tell you a little bit about what I thought about it and why you should get it and who it would be good for. And then, yeah, you guys can tell me what you think if you buy it and you read it. So you might have heard me talk about this book on the Witching Week back in December when I went through the week's events and I told you that I'd been to the author's house. The book is about a little boy called Toseland, Tolly for short, and he goes to his great-grandmother's house for Christmas because his father and his stepmother don't seem to sort of want him there with them. The book actually says, up here it says, "What if my great-grandmother is a witch?" thought Tolly. So that in itself was a great draw, and I was really interested to find out what would happen to Tolly. So he goes to his great-grandmother's house. There is a bit of negativity about his stepmother. We need to remember this was written in the 1950s, so I don't know if stepmothers were very sort of common then, but I think it sort of plays a little bit into those sort of evil stepmother tropes. I probably just feel like this because I'm a stepmother, and we do, I think, sometimes get a really hard time. It's a really hard job. So I think that's the only thing in the whole book that kind of caused me to sort of have a negative response. Otherwise I absolutely loved this book, and it was only sort of a fleeting part at the very beginning of the book when we establish why Tolly is going to stay with his great-grandmother. So there is a massive magical adventure that awaits Tolly. I won't spoil it, but I will say that it's set at Christmas. It's very atmospheric. It's absolutely beautifully written. Anyone can read it. I've really enjoyed it because it wasn't a heavy read. I did have to concentrate, but it wasn't a heavy read, and so you can just get fully immersed in this book, and it is a really immersive book. It's about ghosts and ancestors. It's about family curses and magical trees, and yeah, I don't want to say any more than that because I don't want to spoil the magic of it. I loved it because it was easy to read. It's set in the Cambridgeshire Fens, which is where my mum lives, and I read it at Christmas, and it is really a Christmas book, so it felt really festive. It's really immersive and really quite a touching and emotional book. And because I had the extra pleasure of visiting the house, I could imagine the bedroom, the sitting room and the gardens, and that really sort of added to my experience, I think. But you could read the book without visiting the house and absolutely love it, and I would suggest that if some of you read the book, you're going to end up wanting to visit the house, and it is well worth it. So this book is excellent for anybody who loves books like The Dark is Rising sequence by Susan Cooper. I would say also, if you live in the Cambridgeshire Fens or you have any link to the Cambridgeshire Fens, then it's probably going to be a book that you want to read as well. I did read The Bewitching by Jill Dawson, which is also set in the Cambridgeshire Fens. It's about the witches of Warboys. Then I think you will love it, because again, it just brings up that imagery. And if you're from the Cambridgeshire Fens, and it's really lovely to read stories that are written about that part of the land. It's quite magical and mysterious, the Cambridgeshire Fens. You've got all the ditches that run along the fields, and there's a lot of flooding always, and it's very, very flat, and you get mist, and there's no light because it's the middle of nowhere. So it's quite an atmospheric place, I think, to set any story. Children age 8 to 12 years. I mean, this is who this book is actually aimed at. So a reading age of 8 to 12 years. But I enjoyed it, I've read a few children's books as an adult, and I always enjoy them, and I just think they're a really good escape, aren't they, from grown-up life. Usually you don't have to concentrate too hard because the writing is quite simple, although you do have to concentrate because there's lots of layers of relatives, and so it's helpful. You do have to be mindful, and you do have to concentrate so you know who's who. It definitely helps as well if you've seen the adaptation, the BBC adaptation, which is from 1986. And again, if you watched that and you enjoyed that, then I really recommend that you read the book if you've not read the book. It really does sort of help put everything in place, even though it's not filmed at the house where it's written. So it's really strange. You've got the book, and obviously you come up with pictures and images. You've got the house, which totally brings that back, and then you've got the BBC adaptation, which is filmed somewhere completely different, but it's like a tapestry. It all weaves together, and it just creates this really, really amazing visual story. It is quite a visual book, I think, when he turns up and there's flooding and stuff like that. The way it's all described, you just really imagine that you're there, that even possibly that you are Tolly. So really fantastic book. If you love Christmas ghost stories, then again, it's going to be a book for you. And I would say that if you're a similar age to me and you watched Moondial back in the day, that was a 1988 children's programme based on the 1987 book. And if you loved Moondial, then you will love this as well. When you think of like ghosts and spirits and gardens and adventures and, adventures surrounding a child. So yeah, lots of people I think would really, really enjoy this. So in conclusion, I haven't told you too much. I know I've done that on purpose. This is so that I don't spoil it for you. It's a very charming, atmospheric book that I recommend to everyone. It's really, really lovely. I don't know if they make books and films like this for children anymore, I have to say. I'm getting to that age where obviously I start to reminisce and I look back and say things like, oh, they don't make them like they used to. But after reading it, I'm really, really wondering if they make them like they used to. This is just so special, and it just opened up another world, even as an adult. So really, in conclusion, all I can say is a massive, massive thanks to my friend who not only introduced me to this, but was good enough to take me to the house back in December. It's a gorgeous memory that I will always cherish, and now I have a gorgeous book that I can read over and over again. It didn't take me very long to read. It's not very big, as you can see, but it packs a lot into a tiny book, and it's just so well written that Lucy M. Boston manages to say a lot in clearly very few words. So absolutely brilliant. I highly recommend it. And again, if you've got children aged from about 8 to 12, I think they would really, really enjoy this.